Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Today I have Elliott with Tri-County Mental Health Services. Thanks so much for joining me.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Today we're going to talk about youth suicide prevention, and this is your position with Tri-County, right? That's what you do, is youth suicide prevention. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Awesome. And I know you're working in the schools, which has been a challenge, and we'll talk about that a little bit as we go on. But the first program that I wanted you to highlight for us was the SOS, because I know that they now have an ACT message with it.
So SOS stands for Signs of Suicide, and this is the program that most schools in the area will use sometime throughout the school year. It teaches students how to recognize warning signs and risk factors, and then how to reach out for a trusted adult. So the ACT message is what is the big message throughout SOS, and it stands for Acknowledge, Care, and Tell. So these are the 3 steps that we teach students, as well as what we teach teachers and faculty and staff, as well as parents. So it's kind of a big triangle of the students, the faculty, staff, and parents, and they all kind of learn the same message and learn some of just how to help prevent suicide in the schools and at home as well. So
okay.
Right now for SOS, they actually have a new virtual platform. So before it was just in person, but because of 2020, they've kind of adapted, and now we have a virtual method. So now students that are working from home are still able to actually go through SOS. The SOS also has new videos and a new introduction video, which is my favorite part because it actually introduces the challenges of 2020 and how this kind of ties into suicide prevention, and just making sure that we're acknowledging, that we're caring, and we're telling a trusted adult if we recognize that one of our friends are in need. So, yeah.
So I know that we all know what acknowledge, care, and tell means, but give me a brief example of is it acknowledging that maybe someone might be going through something that they might need help for, and then caring is reaching out to them, and telling is obviously getting help that they may need. Is that the right direction?
So acknowledging is acknowledging the warning signs. So the students and the teachers and the faculty will actually learn what those warning signs are and what to look for a student who may be going through emotional pain. And caring is the listening portion. This is when you listen non-judgmentally. You listen with open ears, and then you tell a trusted adult, and that's the last step. And that's the one that we encourage the most, because once you reach that step, the parents, the faculty, and staff are already trained in SOS, so they know exactly what to do moving forward in a crisis as well. So
perfect. That sounds fabulous. And then the other thing that I wanted you to touch on during our brief time together this afternoon was Camp Mindful, because this was new to me when we spoke earlier, and it sounds like an amazing program.
Yeah, Camp Mindful is something that I've been working on pretty heavy for the past couple months. It's a program that I've created for a virtual and in-person method for students ages 10 to 14. So what we learn in Camp Mindful is the grounding technique. So grounding is the technique to use to create space in your mind by focusing on one thing. And the things that we focus on in Camp Mindful are our 5 senses. So every single day we focus on a new sense, and how you can use this when you're in an environment that's very stressful and you reach that level of being overwhelmed. How do you pause, breathe, and focus on one thing in any environment that you're in? Those are the skills that we learn in Camp Mindful. And we also learn some new coping skills. So every single grounding technique that we talk about, I also tie in a new fun activity or a coping skill that they can use to take home with them and to use at any time where they are stressed and overwhelmed as well. Because we want to make sure that they're grounding their thoughts and creating that space so they can actually cope in a healthy way. Because when you're super stressed and overwhelmed, it's hard for the mind to figure out what's healthy and what's unhealthy. And so we need to create that space and actually learn, what does this healthy coping even look like? So that's what we learn in Camp Mindful.
Great. And what you've done is, if I remember correctly, you've adapted it to where they're short little snippets of classroom work. So it's not taking up a whole bunch of time. It's digestible information.
Yes. So each lesson it's in a video format. So it's me going through camp. Every single video, I'm in a different environment as we talk about a different grounding skill. And the videos themselves are a little less than 5 minutes long. Then the activity that follows, and I give the activity, like the activity directions in the video itself. The activity takes up about 5 to 10 minutes, and the students will actually follow the activity in their camp guide. And their camp guide is their activity book. So each student will get almost like a textbook to go through Camp Mindful with, so they can write down their thoughts and go through those discussion questions that anything that pops up in the classroom. And at the very end of the activity book, there is the backpack of words. And the backpack of words are the key terms that I talk about in each of my videos. And this just has the fun games, like there's crossword puzzles and word searches and other kind of small activities at the end that actually use those words. So throughout Camp Mindful, we continue using the words grounding and mindfulness and mental health and coping, and there's all kinds of words that we repeat. And so I want to make sure that they know what these words are at the end of Camp Mindful.
So nice that they have something that they can take with them too, and like go back to if they have questions. And I know that we could probably spend a ton of time on this, but could you briefly go through the 5 senses for the grounding for those?
Yes. Yes, of course. So there is touch, and for touch, we actually learn right brain versus left brain coordination, and these fun little things that you can do with your hands and your body. We also learn how to touch and ground your, physically ground yourself, and how physical health can actually improve your mental health. Then we've got taste, and in this one, we actually make a s'more, and we talk about our taste buds. And we also, the activity is tongue twisters. And we've got sight, and on sight we do a night hike, sorry. And we just kind of walk around and we talk about positive affirmations and what we do when we look at ourselves. And then we have, let's see, there's touch, there's taste, there's sight, there's smell. And smell, we stop and smell the campsite. And this is the gratitude portion, where we stop and just be thankful for the things that we have already. And then the very last one is, let's see, there's hearing, listening. So this one we do a listening versus hearing lesson, and we talk about the difference between them. And then we just kind of talk about what mental health is, and we dive into that. And it's more of the listening portion of the entire Camp Mindful. So it's a little bit more of the serious one, but that's when we actually dive into what mental health is.
That's great. I have to do that all the time when I talk about the senses too. I have to go through them all to get to the last one.
Yeah.
It was funny because a friend of mine, obviously we are adults, we were talking about anxiety, the anxiety that 2020 has produced in a lot of kids and adults. And I was talking to her about your 5 grounding methods, and she was like, I've never heard that before. So I want to say to the adults watching, use this as well. Use this as well.
I actually just found out about what the grounding technique is when I was in college. And so during 2020, I was reflecting on myself and what I do to help with my anxiety. And I remembered the grounding technique and realized, oh, maybe this is something that I should be teaching students, because this is a technique that even my parents didn't know about until I mentioned it to them. So we're slowly educating. It'll be fun.
Right. That's right. And for those of you that don't know, Tri-County Mental Health Services serves the northern part of the Kansas City metro area. And how many schools are you in?
Oh, goodness. It's all of the schools in the Ray County area, Clay County area, and Platte County area. So there's got to be at least 50 plus schools that we work with.
Yeah, that's a big area to cover. And is this going to be available for other folks around Missouri if they would like to implement it in their area?
I believe so, but right now we're just focusing on our area. I'm going to have a focus school that's going to kind of implement it first, and we're going to kind of see how this goes with the evaluation pieces, and then it'll kind of be blasted out to all of the rest of the middle schools and high schools in our Tri-County area.
Awesome. So if you're watching and you're interested, I would follow Tri-County Mental Health Prevention on Facebook. Do you know the exact handle, Emily? For you guys?
It's just Tri-County Mental Health Services.
Perfect, perfect, because I'm sure they will be pushing information out as they get it. So go ahead and follow them and be looking for it. And thank you so much for joining me today and sharing this information. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you. I appreciate it. Thanks for letting me be here and have this platform to speak about my program, because I love to talk about Camp Mindful.
That's great. Great. I love it. I can't wait to see what it brings.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.